Hi there, welcome to Lilly-Tree. Today we're going to make these easy wire wrapped earrings. So let's get wrapping. To make these we need 2 head pins around 5 cm or 2 inches long. You can use bought head pins or make your own, and I'll leave a link in the description below on how to do that. Then we also need 0.4mm diameter copper wire, which is 26 gauge, 2 beads and wire or head pins to fit through them, and 2 ear hooks. And the tools we need are round nose pliers, chain or flat nose pliers, wire cutters, and then optionally bow making pliers and a hammer and block. So we're going to start with one of the head pins, and using our round nose pliers create a small loop at the end. And then kink that back so it's sitting nice and straight on the wire. Now we're going to create the main shape. So we're just going to bend that head pin around and try and make a nice smooth curve. Crossing the head end of the pin over that loop. And we can finesse this shape until we're happy with it. Then we just need to do exactly the same with the other head pin, creating that loop on the end and bending it around to shape. But this time I'm taking the head end of the pin under that loop. And we'll check that these two shapes are similar. Now I'm just going to hammer that large loop. This will help work harden the wire if your head pin's a bit soft. And it can also flatten that wire a bit for design purposes. Just make sure you avoid hammering where the wires cross. So that's our basic shape created, and we're ready to start wire wrapping. We're going to use our 0.4mm or 26 gauge wire for the wrapping. I've got far too much here. You only need about 35 cm or 14 inches for each earring. And the first thing we're going to do is wrap it 3 times around the side of the frame with the loop on it. We can wrap this a little way up, make sure those wraps are neatly together, and then slide that down to just above the loop. Then we're going to take that weaving wire over and wrap the other side of the frame, the one at the head end of the pin, twice. Then as that wire comes down through the loop to complete that second wrap, just make sure it's in the place we want, and we'll go back over and wrap the first side twice. We'll then take that wire across again to wrap the second side twice. And we're just going to continue in this way, wrapping each side twice, up as far as we want to create the design. Now I've chosen this 2-wrap corset weave to keep those wraps nice and tightly together. You could change it up by wrapping 3 or 4 times on each side and open that weave up a bit. We could even use a different weave here to change up the look even more. But I'm just going to continue with this one. And you could leave this weaving quite short, but I'm going to wrap a fair way up. And I think that's about as far as I want to go. So we'll just take that weaving wire across one more time. And finish it by wrapping 3 times on that side of the frame. This will hold that weaving wire nicely in place. Then we can trim both ends of that weaving wire. And just make sure those ends are sitting nice and flush so they won't catch. And then we need to repeat that weave on the other headpin loop, and we're ready to start assembly. Now before we start assembly, we need to wire up these beads. I've got some lovely green amethyst drops here, so we can use the leftover 0.4mm wire for this. Just pop it through that hole in the bead. And bend both ends of the wire upwards so they come up to the point at the top of that bead. We're then going to bend that short wire so it sits straight upwards and create the small loop that we're going to hang this bead from. And we're just creating a wrapped loop here. So we'll finish making that loop and then wrap the end of that wire around where those 2 wires crossed. Just wrap it a couple of times around there. Then we can trim off the end of that wire. And with the other longer end of the wire, we're going to wrap right the way down over the top of that bead. This is quite fiddly, but we want to make sure we're keeping that bead in place as we wrap the top of it. Once we get a little way down, it'll hold itself in place. And then we're just going to continue spiralling that wire downwards. We want each wrap to sit just below the last. And it's worth experimenting to see what's easier for you, whether it's easier to hold the bead or to hold that loop. Now once we've wrapped over where the wire's coming out of the bead, I like to take that wire back up and just wrap it once around the bottom of that hanging loop. I find this just keeps it all a bit more secure. Then we can trim off the excess wire and just make sure that end's sitting flush. Then of course we need to do the same with the other bead. Then to assemble the earrings, we'll open up that loop on our woven piece, add our bead, and then add the ear hook to the top. And our earrings are finished. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, why not head to this playlist for more easy wire wrapped earrings. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.